Morning guys, Friday morning, up and at 'em, out here doing it. And I'll tell you what, after all that rain has been dropped and now that sun suspending that nice moisture in the air, lovely and humid. Boy oh boy, and we're just going into the height of the hurricane season as well, September 1st. So anyway, I don't want to talk in negatives because that's what I want to talk about. So I hope everybody's having a good time. Everybody's looking forward to the weekend, having a good Friday, staying present, and go and hit that subscribe and like for me, yeah. Get the word out there, pass me around. mindnutritionforall.com is my website. A bunch of blogs and everything on there as well. It's 50 plus blogs on there. I want to start getting back into a website. But anyway, I want to talk about those mistakes, and I've got a mower following me. So I hope you can hear me. But I wanted to talk about those mistakes and cluing into those mistakes, because I'll tell you guys, there's a lot of negative out there right now. And a lot of it's geared around those things you can't change. Start thinking negative things and you can't change the situation, then why are we thinking the negative things? There's absolutely no point. Because if you can't change it, there's no point. So those negatives are going to keep firing off in your head, saying things like you can change it. And I know I talk about can, but this is a can in the wrong place. Because this is when we're saying, oh, we could change it, or the brain's saying we could change it, or we're getting angry about something, right? And we're so angry about it, and that negative keeps on screaming negatives at us, and we just keep on throwing that out there. And all it's doing is bringing you down. It isn't doing anything for the situation at all. It's not changing anything. It's not going to change a person. It sure ain't going to change anything that's going on in the world. So the best thing to do there is redirect that anger at something. Get petitions going, speak to your government, stuff like that. Because getting angry and forcing that anger out there is going to do you no good, guys, but bring you down. They can't hear you, whoever it's geared towards, so there's no point. So when those negatives start playing up on your shoulder and they end up telling you, hey, you can change that and you can do this, and you know what, think about it, be honest with yourself. Because if you really cannot change it, you can't do anything about it, then don't listen to the negatives. Because they may be telling you that you can. And all the while you're telling yourself that you can, or your mind is telling you that you can change a certain situation, the only thing you can change, guys, is yourself and your reaction to it. So redirect the anger. And the other thing is, you know, what about those things, those projects that you want to start? What about those goals that you want? What's the voice telling you about those? Is it sitting on your shoulder and saying you can't do that? You ain't worthy enough? You ain't, what do you know about that? Why do you think you can do it? That's all coming from somewhere. It's all programs from somewhere, but it's all freaking negatives too. Because sometimes we come up against something we've never even seen it, tried it, heard about it, or anything before. And then we get talking to someone, we go, oh yeah, I'm thinking about, you know, X, Y, Z. Oh, and you start the negatives going. The negative starts talking to you now, and then starts feeding you a fake reality, telling you you can't. Why? Because you've heard someone else say it. Don't listen to other people. Yeah. Crikey, even doctors get it wrong. Right? Think about that. Morning.
Good morning.
Think about that, yeah? How many times have I heard that someone's been misdiagnosed or something, right? Boy, oh boy, that's a massive, it's a reality. Well, it's not a reality, it's a reality at that time. because you're listening to that. And what do? Hey, they're the professional, they know, do they? Right? Don't take someone's word for it, learn it. Go and, if you're not happy with that, then you're quite within your right to choose to go and get a different opinion. One person's opinion don't make it right, it's an opinion. That's what it is, it's just an opinion of that person, right? So those negatives that keep on coming in, guys, and they're stopping you from going forward. All the while you're listening to them, you're anchored. What are you anchored to? You're not anchored to reality. You're anchored to whatever the negatives are telling you. And you're not moving forward in reality. Is that something you want to do? Not move forward? Because the negatives are sitting on your shoulder? You know, those goals where you get people give up. They'll try once, and then they're like, oh no. And maybe things ain't for you. And maybe you do want to, I don't know, try something different. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But if the negatives are stopping you, if the negatives are stopping you from going forward, and you're listening to all those negatives, and they're screaming at you, you can't do this, you're not worthy, you're not, you ain't going to benefit from this, and etc., 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 then are you really living a reality? Think about that. Think about that. Yeah? And be honest about it. And to tell you the truth, guys, you know, if you think that you can avoid suffering, or you think you can avoid those mistakes, I like to call them bumps, mistakes, because people seem to think mistake and they think fail, and they're not the same at all. In fact, you can't fail if you keep going at it. But the thing to think of is, if we start believing that you can't, you're trying your damnedest to try not to make any mistakes, then you're hitting your head against the wall. Because I really do believe now that mistakes are there for you to learn. I think we trip now and again. If you breezed through without any, what are you learning? You even know that material inside out, upside down, back to front, and not 100%. Or you're going to make those mistakes and you're going to learn from them. And it's better to make the mistakes and learn from them, so that later on, down the road when you get out there and you're really starting to get busy, or you're starting to get into some heavy shit, well, those things that come along, you know what to do because you learnt a lesson from it. And if you do it, and then you come up against something that you're not quite sure of, or you're not quite grasping it, then hey, you come back and do it again because you learnt from the first time. If you all of a sudden are not able to do it, and you move away and you learn where you went wrong in that, and then you go back and do it again, guarantee you, a lot of the times you're pretty much in a better place than what you was when you didn't know it. Right? You're in a much better place. So, those negatives are going to anchor you. They're going to stop you every time. And sometimes they can be something that we don't even know, someone's told us, didn't work for them. Don't mean it ain't going to work for you. Right? Don't mean it ain't going to work for you guys. So why anchor yourself off? What are you going to do when you later on down the road and you go, wow, I wish I'd have tried that. Yeah? I wish I'd have tried that. It's better to make the mistakes and learn than to sit there and listen to those voices going off, those negatives going off. Because if you sit there and listen to them, you're heading for a whole lot of resentment against yourself too, because you didn't bother going forward, and you didn't bother testing the waters out and checking those negatives out. Check the negatives out at least. And I tell you what, the wins that you're going to get once you find out that you can do it, and you've gone through it and you've worked it out, the wins are just tremendous, because you'll start feeling much more confident in yourself. You won't be so afraid of looking at those negatives the next time and moving forward. Then you start shifting your mind into a better positive manner, because and then you start looking at these negatives and starting to realise, oh, okay, hang on, yeah, I've gone through these a lot before and I've figured it out. And then all of a sudden that starts smoothing out and you're not thinking about it so much. Every time you put a negative up there in front of you and you have a bad reaction towards it, what are you doing? Riveting home the anxiety. So next time it comes around, now it's even harder, because you're just layering the fears with it. You constantly just yep, and you ain't gonna do shit after that, because you just really made a massive cork, let's say, to stick over the top and just push it down. Face some of those fears. They're only fears because they're in your head. They're only fears because something somewhere is telling you can't. Take the T off the end. Make it a 3-letter word again and not a 4-letter swear word. Right? Can is a much bigger word, but you stick one single letter on the end of it, makes it a complete negative one. And riveting. Think about that. Tell yourself you can, huge. Makes your mind go forward. Tell yourself you can't, you're done. Because that's a solid word, guys. And it's going to keep you there. And the only reason you're saying you can't is because you're listening to negatives on your shoulder. Yeah? Make friends with that negative. Or that voice, I should say. Why? Ask it why. Why are you saying that? What's going on there? I can do this. Talk to it. Make it a thing. Instead of just up in here. So don't be riveted to the spot, guys, by your negative thinking. Yeah? Stay the course, guys. Have a great weekend. Namaste.